It was in our faces the entire time. On our terminal, in Shorekeeper's animations, the Imperator's hub, Jue's Sonoro, the civilization capsule, and most importantly, her design. The question is, what does all of this mean? What could be so important that Kuro would implement it throughout all of the game from the very beginning? Well, I have an answer for you, and I'm 98% certain it will blow your mind, or I have to replay Dreaming Deep. The story of Wuthering Waves has been captivating to say the least. However, one thing I noticed is that most players are missing out on one of the biggest connections in the game, and Wuthering Waves has done an impressive job of showing and not telling with this one. It's such a mystery that it was only mentioned once in the entire game. In fact, this key piece of information connects everything from the beginning to the present, and likely to the end. I'm going to explain to you what this missing link is, how it connects everything, and what it means for the future of Wuthering Waves. I've been covering Wuthering Waves since the beginning, and it's my pleasure to say this video is sponsored by Kuro Games, the developers of Wuthering Waves. Big shout out to all of you watching as well. Thank you so much for supporting my content. Discovery consists of seeing what everybody has seen and thinking what nobody has thought. Albert Suzette Giorgi. Perhaps you figured out the correlation between all these seemingly disconnected things, but in case you haven't, let me draw your attention first to everyone's favorite overworked support / buffer who never leaves your team, Shorekeeper. Have you ever wondered why she has this orbital chart illustration all throughout her design? It's in her idol, her ultimate, most importantly, her final cherished item, We Are One. Where else do you see this symbol? Our main character Rover has been carrying it around for as long as we've known them. It's their terminal. In the beginning of the game, Yang mentions how our terminal is different from theirs, but still has similar basic functions. One of the key differences that you'll notice is the design. You can see the orbital illustration once again. Where else do you see this symbol? In 1.1, the Sonoro that Rover gave to Jue has the same design philosophy. And again in 2.4, we saw the Imperator's hub reflected this design choice. In 2.6, we saw it again with the Earth-Rin wedge. And finally, the civilization capsule we got from Sentinel Imperator. But wait, there's one other place we forgot about, likely the most important for the foreseeable future, her design. Yes, the pretty space lady herself, who will henceforth be addressed as Lucia for reasons. She not only shares this design philosophy, but I believe she's the inspiration behind it all. And that leads us to Solaris. As I said in the beginning, there's a well-kept secret that Wuthering Waves has kept hidden, and the orbital patterns point to it as well. In 1.0, we go to an abandoned Court of Savante research facility with Encore and Alto, where we encounter Lucia. This is also near the Winding Ix's Mire, a location said to have been the site that a miracle took place by an ancient civilization in the past. This civilization in question is the catalyst to connecting many of the mysteries in Soul 3. What's even more interesting is the name of that civilization is only mentioned once in the entire game. Behind the main building of the ruins, there are two smaller buildings that can only be unlocked via a puzzle. Within one of the buildings is a tablet inscribed Research Memo C2068. It mentions a civilization called the Hess civilization and that it has links to an underground galaxy. Now, where have we seen something like that before? Bingo! Black Shores. Now, who's at the Black Shores? Shorekeeper. And what is Shorekeeper connected to? The Tethys system. Have you ever wondered who created the Tethys system? Well, it isn't the Black Shores. Shorekeeper tells us as much at the end of 1.3.
When you established the Black Shores to unite Solaris, the Tethys system already existed.
In fact, there's a log on a tablet in the modulation hall of Tethys Deep that states the Black Shores members aren't able to perform code level maintenance on Tethys and that its inner workings are beyond their understanding. In Shorekeeper's backstory, we see that she was created to be a tool by a group of people who placed their hopes in a being we come to learn is Rover. This was the Hess civilization. The group that created Tethys, the Hess civilization. The group that mysteriously vanished in the Winding Ix's Mire, the Hess civilization. Yes, the group that seems to be obsessed with placing orbital patterns on everything is indeed the Hess civilization. But why? Remember her? What if I told you she's the inspiration behind it all? And the reason will shock you. In order to understand where this is leading, we need to dig into what I believe to be one of the inspirations behind the game of Wuthering Waves. Do you remember Dreaming Deep? Well, for all its obscure cultural references, there were two films within it that have shown great promise in unraveling this mystery. Film A. On the surface, this seems like a random psychological sci-fi horror story about the last surviving member of a spaceship called the Limb. During the survey of an alien planet, the last remaining survivor mentioned the rest of the crew was replaced. After landing on the strange planet to investigate, everyone who left the ship never returned, but rather a non-human imitation came back instead. As I said, this seems like a random story at first glance, but upon further inspection, the name of the ship reveals a deeper meaning. You see, this scenario matches up, albeit not 100%, but enough to draw a correlation with a book written written by a man named Stanislav Lem. The book is about a space crew who surveys an alien planet comprised primarily of water, with no notable land masses to speak of, save a couple tiny islands. The most interesting thing about the story that stands out to me is that there comes a point in the story where it's speculated that the planet is sentient. The researchers thought they were running experiments on the planet, but in reality, it was running experiments on them. The colossal body of water was one giant planet-sized organism. If you think that's wild, you haven't heard the craziest part. The name of the book is Solaris. Dreaming Deep casually drops the planet's namesake as a seemingly random film. So how does this relate to solving the mystery? Well, I believe that just like the alien planet, the Lament is sentient. We saw the Dark Tide in Septimont create intelligent TDs like the Chorosaurus and the False Sovereign, even Galbrenna's Chimera. More on that in another video. All of this being a result of Leviathan, who is a byproduct of the Lament. Thus, it's safe to say that the Lament can also be sentient. We also saw in 2.6 that Yuno mentioned that the Dark Tide was devouring the moon, the same moon that was previously helping the gladiators by ceasing the advance of the TDs. That's an incredibly intentional action. This theory is further supported by a document that can be found in Jinzhou. An aircraft accident report outlined that the etheric sea caused a flight to crash due to it going too close to the upside down metropolis in the sky. What could the motive behind these actions be? To answer that, let me introduce you to Film B. I'm informing for some and reminding for others that it was said that the theater crew of Dreaming Deep is comprised of the frequencies compiled from an ancient civilization. We also learned that a detective in a beret named D has been putting together all these films based on those frequencies. The civilization is presumed to be the Hess civilization. With that being said, Film B tells the story of researchers who discovered the source of resonance for what is referred to as it. My hypothesis is that this is referring to the Thornodian the Hess civilization was facing before they were wiped out and their reverberations were stored in the Somme Noir. And yes, Dreaming Deep is located in the Somme Noir, the dream realm. Anyway, basically, the film explains that the researchers found the origin of the frequency that the Thornodian resonates with, deep in space. However, they found out too late. Thus, they decided to create a monument that would attest to this discovery. Something that, regardless of the laments that plagued Soul 3, would persist throughout time, to be a beacon for the future. They created the moon. Huh? Yes, you heard that right. Apparently, there was no moon at the time in which the researchers existed. They created a spherical satellite big enough for everyone to see, which would accomplish two things. One, they figured it would help people feel safer at night and enable them to travel. Since the Lament destroyed so much, I imagine many parts of Soul 3 were without functioning electrical currents. Two, however, being the most important, it would serve as a guide. They believed that eventually an inquisitive mind would notice the lunar phases and realize the world was a sphere. This would eventually lead to the desire to be curious about space and space travel. The researchers couldn't capitalize on what they learned in their lifetime, but this was their message to the future. This was their tombstone. Now, the big question is, what does this all mean? What does understanding the Lament is sentient via the Solaris story and the story of the researchers wanting to inspire future civilizations to research space help us conclude? This is where everything comes together. I believe all the orbital patterns we keep seeing are the remnants of the Hess civilization, the same civilization that's only mentioned one time in the entire game as of this video, the same civilization whose remaining frequencies are stored in the Somme Noir and used to make films for Dreaming Deep, the same civilization that the Quarter Savante witnessed experience a miracle in the Winding Ix's mire through the advent of the retroact rain, the same civilization that decided to model their technology like Rover's Terminal and the Imperator's Hub after her, the same civilization that built Tethys, put an entire moon in the sky, and created Shorekeeper. All of this for what? So humanity would look up and realize what it took them too long to. If you look at the description of Lunite in the game, it tells us that the moon was shattered by the wave-worn phenomenon a long time ago. The same moon the Hess civilization raised was shattered. Why do you think that was? There's a reason why the Dark Tide was devouring the moon. There's also a reason the Lament attacked that aircraft via the etheric sea wave-worn phenomenon. It's the same reason why the Hess civilization has been trying to inspire future generations to explore space, because that's where the answers are. The film and Dreaming Deep said they found the corresponding source of resonance for it, which likely correlates to the origins of the lament itself. The key to stopping the lament is in space, and the lament knows it. It will do whatever it can to stop humanity from reaching the stars. This wouldn't be the first time. It happened before in the port city of Guizhou. The Hess civilization did succeed. Future civilizations aimed for the stars, but as we can see, the lament didn't let that last. It happened before, and it will happen again, unless Rover breaks the cycle. This is Life, and this is Life Lessons Gaming, where we discuss games, game stories, and lore. And regarding liking, commenting, and subscribing,
Hey you, do the thing.